we are reading Crescent City 3. Oh, like, how the second one ended. Okay, this vlog is gonna be spoilers, so if you have not read Crescent City, if you're planning to read it, any of the above, anything to do with Crescent City, there will be spoilers, so maybe save this one for after you've read it. So if you watched my my March TBR, I mentioned in there, sorry, I'm like trying to open my Kindle. I mentioned in that video that I was not going to be buying the physical copy of Crescent City 3. I'm going to be reading it on my Kindle because I don't like hardback books. That was determined to be a lie. So I bought it on my Kindle, and I also bought the Target exclusive one that has like bonus content. I see bonus content and I'm like, I have to have that because what if it's important? It's the way my brain works. So we're doing both. Right now, I'm reading on my Kindle. I'm about 12% of the way through, so I'm on chapter 8. And I just like, the fact that Rhysand, I call him Rhysand in my mind, that just like, that's how I read it, I don't know. The fact that he's the one who showed up at the end of the second one, House of Sky and Breath, like I knew that someone, my arm is getting tired as shit just standing here. Hold, please. Can I set you up here? Oh yeah, you're on my windowsill. So I knew that someone was going to be showing up in Crescent City 2 at the end, or like somewhere in it, because I had seen things popping around online, but I never saw who. And for me, I thought it was going to be someone from Throne of Glass. It was not. I just like the fact that it's him, and we're getting Nesta, we're getting Azriel, we're getting Amren. Like, it's just, I can't believe it, because I was just saying that I need to reread ACOTAR because I need those characters, and I just like want to revisit that story. And now I'm getting both. Like, oh my gosh. So I'm loving it so far. I am like on the edge of my seat. So right now all the characters are kind of like split up. Bryce is in the like old Fae world, and she's with like Nesta and all of them that I was just saying. And then Rune and Hunt are being tortured by the Asteri. I think of them as like the lead vampires from Twilight. That's just like what I see in my brain. We figured out who Agent Daybright is, and it is the Hind, which is like, I was going back and forth on who I thought it was. I thought maybe it was Queen Hypaxia. It was just, yeah, I don't know. So didn't see that one coming. Ithan, Flynn, Deck, and who am I missing? It's just those three. They are, and Therian. He's like over with the Viper Queen, taking her venom and just fighting and whatever. But the other three, they are, they rescued, well, Ithan, I don't know. He rescued the wolf that was in the mystic bath thingy with the astronomer. So he has her now. The wolves are coming after him. Sabine is trying to kill her because she's an alpha and she's a fender. So many things. I just like have all, like I just want to like take everything in this book and just like download it into my brain so I know what happens. I am worried though, because everyone says that this book, or not everyone, but I've seen a lot of people online saying that this book was kind of a disappointment. Like, it wasn't what they were hoping, especially how the last one left off. So I'm worried for what's gonna happen, and if this one's gonna end off on a cliffhanger, because I have no more books to read after this. So yeah, I feel like I just talked a mile a minute now. I'm out of breath, but that's where we're at. I will be getting the physical copy. It should be here on Saturday. Today's Thursday, so we'll see. I don't know what the bonus content is. I'm interested to see what that is as well. And then this book is like 830 pages. I looked at it last night to see. All of them are around 800. This one I think is the longest so far, so that's where we're at. I did want to mention I am loving my lip combo today. So what it is, I did, hairs everywhere in my eyeballs. I started with the Makeup Forever Anywhere Caffeine lip liner, and then I don't even know if they still make these, but these are the Melt All Day Every Day Ultra Matte Lip Liners, and this is in the shade Foxy. It's kind of like a grayish brown, and then I topped it with this About Face Cherry Pick Lip Color Butter. in the shade Pink Pina. I love it. Hello. I am in physical pain because one of my dogs just stepped on my foot, or like stepped, ran, skidded across. It feels like a bruise and carpet burn like put together, and it's really fucked up. But I wanted to get on here. I haven't read more of Crescent City, but I forgot to tell you guys when we were talking about me finishing the second Crescent City, I took a picture of myself. I'm literally gonna pop it up right here because it's so funny. So yeah, I just wanted to pop it up here because I like can't not post it. Yeah, my foot is like, I'm not gonna show you because like no free feet content here, but it's so bad. Hello everyone, it has been a few days. It's been a few days. I did get my physical copy of Crescent City House of Flame and Shadow. I am so excited to have this physical copy in my hands. I hate that it's hardback. I am like, oh, I wish it was a paperback so bad. I have been reading on my Kindle still, especially at night or if I'm like laying on the couch or something, but I've been taking notes on my phone as I'm reading because I just have had so many thoughts. I'm trying to think of what the last update was that I gave you all. I know that we met Rhysand and Nesta and Asriel and Amren, and I was super excited about that. And I really, really enjoyed that they were like in this book. The spoiler, I didn't have anything spoiled for me, which was just like, oh my god, so good. So they kept Bryce in like an interrogation room. There was like a grate in the floor that she escaped through, essentially, but like Nesta and Asriel, they went down there with her. Rhysand like basically baited her into doing this. They found these tunnels that they didn't even know were there, and then they found like a little room where a hologram came on, and essentially, like, I feel like I'm explaining this super poorly, and I won't be surprised that if you've read Crescent City, if you're like, that's totally inaccurate, but so essentially there's a hologram. She learns like all of this information about her bloodline and Thea and her daughters and like what actually went down with all of them. So she learned that Thea was essentially no better than the Asteri. She was like conquering other people after she like pushed the Asteri out of their planet. So Bryce was like super ashamed, super upset. Also learned that Hell is essentially the good guys. Like they are trying to defeat the Asteri and keep them from conquering other planets. While she's watching this hologram, Selene, I think that's how you say her name, that's how I was saying it in my brain, Selene essentially tells her that she stored all this power there for her descendants to come and retrieve. So Bryce does it, and now her power is kind of changed. It all leads to an Asteri being locked in a crystal, like, coffin thing. Bryce lets her out, talks to her, she's super weak, but there is, like, first light stored in the, like, castle or, like, the tunnels or whatever. Anywho, Nesta and Bryce, essentially, end up killing the Asteri. Then Bryce, like, steals the Truth Teller dagger, which she reunites with the Star Sword, and just, like, opens a rift in the world and shoots herself back to her world. So this left so many questions for me because it's like, one, I was really hoping we were going to get more Rhysand, and if that's why people are disappointed in this book, I totally understand. I don't think it's made it bad or lessened the rating for me, but I understand being like, well, oh man, but I'm hoping that we get more of all of those characters that we've already met. Nesta, Asriel, all of them. I hope that they're gonna come back. And what's the deal, like, with the Asteri that they just killed? Like, what the hell? Like, what was her story? Was she also a ruler and there were originally 8 versus 7 that are now 6? Okay, editing me here. And it all makes sense now because I'm talking about, like, were there originally 8? Were there originally whatever of the Asteri? She has an 8-pointed star on her. Was that obvious to anyone else? Or, like, am I grasping at straws? Am I just stupid? I don't know. But things are clicking in my brain. I don't know. And, like, why does she have the same name as the evening star that Bryce knows in her world? Like, where? I just, So many questions. So yeah, so many questions when it comes to the old Fae world. And like I said, Bryce just opened a rift in the world, shot herself back where she needed to go, and she ended up at the Autumn King's house. And he like put the Gorsian shackles on her so she can't use her powers. Essentially is holding her hostage there, or like kind of keeping her safe. I don't know. The Asteri don't know that she's back in their world. They're still looking for her. My thing is like the mystics that are working for the Asteri to literally find Bryce don't know. Like, I would think that that would be instant if that was in their world. Meanwhile, Hunt, Baxian, and Rune are all in the dungeons of the Asteri still. And the Hind, whose name is Lydia, she works with Declan and Flynn, Tharian, and Ithan to bust them out. And essentially, they do. The Hind almost dies, or like kind of might still be dying. We don't really know. Her like running off the cliff to her death was like, oh my gosh, emotional. And Rune has been staying by her bedside. And I think the Autumn King, the fact that he didn't turn Bryce over to the Asteri immediately, he has to be a rebel. Bryce essentially like thinks that he's just an opportunist, which I think could also be true, but I feel like there's something deeper there. I think that he's just been trying to find a way to kill the Asteri, and Bryce kind of popped in and filled in missing information for him that he needed. I think my prediction is they're going to end up working together, and maybe by the end of this book or by the end of the series, they're going to have either repaired their relationship or started to, and I think he's going to die. And like I said, I'm really hoping that Rhysand, Nesta, I hope we get Feyre, like I hope we get some of the ACOTAR characters again, because there's no way that they know all that information, especially like Nesta, and then telling Rhysand and Feyre. There's no way that they have that information that this stuff's happening in another world of Fae, and knowing that the Asteri like conquered their people and so many people died and all this crazy stuff. There's no way they're going to keep that information and not try to help them, because every single one of those characters is a bleeding heart deep down. Like, there's no way that they would not try to help. And so, I know I told you guys about Tharian being with the Viper Queen, so he pledged his allegiance to her, and then Ithan was like, we have to save him. He agrees to fight in the Viper Queen's pits the Fender heir, the wolf that he rescued from the astronomer, and he accidentally kills her, and it's so sad. It's like tearing him apart. He doesn't know how to live with himself because he didn't even mean to. So now he's with Jessica. He has agreed to be her assistant and essentially take Bryce's spot of like cataloging and shipping and doing all these things for her artifacts and everything, in hopes that she can get him in contact with a necromancer so that he can raise the wolf from the dead. And my thought was, so while I'm like jumping all over the place, I apologize. I hope you're following me. My thought is, Hunt gave over some of his lightning to the Asteri. I'm wondering if that's something that he could help with, because they told him the princes of, like, the Prince of Hell, Apillion or Adius, one of them came while he was in the dungeon and told him, like, you know, he wants your lightning because he's thinking it can help raise the dead. So I'm like, And then we also learned that Jessica was a priestess, then a witch, now a sorcerer. So she was a priestess. She was one of the original humans that took all of the books, not all of them, they split them amongst ships, but she was on one of the ships that had the books from the Parthos library, and her boat made it to where it was going, and had all of the, you know, history of things that predated the Asteri. She was a human, and then she got mixed up with the one of the princes of hell. He like transferred magic over to her, because she originally didn't have any. She was a human. It's just crazy because she's thousands of years old. She's lived through all of this. She's predated the Asteri as a human and has lived so many different lives. And she is cursed by Apollyon, who like didn't believe that she like went through all of this just to save some knowledge, some books. My last couple thoughts as of what I've read so far are that I really hope Lydia, who is the Hind, I hope she pulls through. I want more from her. I really like her character. I really want more from her and Rune. I want that love story so bad. Like, their souls banged. You know what I mean? I just had like an out-of-body moment just there where I was like, wow, you're reading a book about some weird shit. I've mentioned it 700 times in this clip alone, but I need Nesta specifically to come back into this story because Bryce and Nesta are the dynamic duo that we didn't know we needed. Like, are you kidding? Nesta and Bryce Quinlan, like, oh my god, they could freaking burn the world to the ground together. So, those are my thoughts. I am going to get ready. I'm going to read a little bit more, and I'll come back with some more of my thoughts. And yeah. Hello, I'm back. I have makeup on, and I did my hair, these little braids. I only have like these massive elastics. That's okay. I just needed my hair out of my face, honestly, because it is greasy and it needs washed, and my roots are starting to come in, so that's fun. I have read more of Crescent City, and I'm going to go through my notes with you guys. I wrote them down in my phone again. So, let's do that real quick. So, Bryce has just escaped her dad. She teleported to Hunt, and they were on the Depth Charger, which is the Ocean Queen ship. I talked about that in my last clip. But she met the Ocean Queen. She literally teleported to like where they were meeting with her, and she asked for assistance to like go against the Asteri for her army, all those things, and the Ocean Queen essentially was like, I'm not helping any more than I already am because Bryce is young, she's inexperienced, she doesn't know what she's doing, or so the Ocean Queen thinks. And she basically tells Bryce, like, this is gonna come down to you letting people through a portal to the old Fae world so that they can flee and escape there, and just like let as many people through as you can, and like essentially just leave all the other people to die. And Bryce like will not accept that. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. So she basically is like, I'll take you where you need to go. Bryce needs to go to the archives, and the cave, what is it? Caves of Princes or something like that. It's in Avalon, so she needs to go there. The Ocean Queen's like, I'll take you, but that's as far as I'm going. She also tells Therian, who is now wanted by the Viper Queen and the River Queen, that he has to stay on the ship, and she's like essentially keeping him prisoner until she decides what to do with him. Also find out that, so the Hind wakes up, we find out that she, Lydia, has 2 sons. They are in the school and live on the Depth Charger with 2 of the Myrrh. And, like, we don't know anything else. Like, we don't know who the dad is. We don't know why she had to give them up, other than the Ocean Queen was involved. She wants to reconnect with them so badly, but the Ocean Queen's like, no, you need to go with them to Avalon. I don't trust Bryce Quinlan, and also she's working with /for, not really totally sure, the Ocean Queen, the Hind is, and she's like, you left your post, I didn't tell you that you could come here, and so she's like, you need to go, and that's kind of her punishment. So they get to Avalon, they meet the king, the Stag King, the Fae King, whatever, his name is Morven, I think that's correct, and he's just like a misogynistic, thinks he's superior asshole, and like won't talk to Bryce because she's a woman, and he literally says like, you're a woman, like you don't spoke unless you're spoken to. And then he won't talk to like slaves, so he won't talk to Hunt, he won't talk to anyone who's been disgraced by their household, which is Rune. So like basically he has to talk to Flynn, and they find out that Flynn's sister is there, and they are essentially holding her there, trying to get her to agree to marry one of the murder twins, which in my head, when I hear murder twins and they talk about how they're like goons and they have like powers to read minds and stuff, all I think of are the twins from the live action Alice in Wonderland. I don't know why. So like there's a scene where they're like bringing her in the room, like the, what do they call it? The throne room or whatever. And they're like bringing in Flynn's sister, and all I'm picturing is like a woman flanked by those 2 Humpty Dumpty twins from Alice in Wonderland. So anyway, they're trying to get her to marry one of them. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. And her dad is is basically like, well, whatever, you haven't agreed to marry any of the people I have presented to you, so I'm done. Either you're marrying one of those people or they're going to deport you back to Lunatheon, and that it's like not safe there anymore because everyone knows that like Flynn and Deck and everyone were helping Hunt and Rune, who are now like the biggest enemies of the Empire. So all that to say, Therian agrees to marry her. Then Bryce is like, okay, well, we get to take her with us. She's married to what's his name, and you can have this journal that I stole from my dad. It's got all of his like most current findings. We need to go to the archives and the cave. And at first he's like, no, women aren't allowed, blah, blah, blah. He agrees to it. They go to the archives. That's kind of like where I'm at now. They go to the archives. They don't really find a whole lot. They find a map that shows a bunch of islands around Avalon, and they're like, that's weird because there's no islands here. But that's essentially the extent of what they found. And now I'm at the point where they're going into the caves. And now Lydia has essentially like told Rune to like F off because he was so mean to her. And she's like not giving him the time of day now, and they're super awkward around each other. I hope they figured that out because I love them together. I think they'll be like so cute. And then last thing I'll say is that Ithan is really starting to annoy the shit out of me. As is Therian, but Ithan first, he does things and he can't accept the outcome of them, and instead of like trying to do that, trying to accept it, he tries to fix it and it just makes it worse. So now he has worked with Queen Hypaxia to raise the wolf heir, the Fender heir, and she came back a Reaper, so she left with the Underking, and now they're like, well, maybe there's something we can do to fix it, I don't know, like, and Ithan's just, like, upset. But Therian, he's made an enemy out, and there's a bounty on his head from the River Queen, because he defected from her. Then he went to the Viper Queen, and she holds him responsible for the meat market blowing up, so she also wants him dead. And then he disobeyed the Ocean Queen and jumped off of her ship to go with everyone to Avalon. So now they have 3 people who Bryce is probably going to need those people to help with her revolution, and Therian's just out here rocking the boat for for a reason, yes, but like selfish reasons. So those 2 are annoying the shit out of me. I'm wondering what it means. They keep mentioning Hunt and his dad, and he was bred for certain things, but we don't know what that means yet. That's pretty much all I have for you right now. I'm gonna read some more. I'm like 55% of the way through, I think. I want to get to like 70% today, if possible. Hello, everyone. I feel like I look absolutely crazy. I'm a little greasy. I have been working all day. I went into the office this morning, and now I am home, and I wanted to give you guys an update on my Crescent City reading. Also, I don't know what's happened. Like, I feel like my makeup's like sticking to this one spot, and my hair is incredibly greasy. It's got a lot of dry shampoo in it. I feel like you can totally see it, but that is what we're working with today. So I wanted to run through some of my thoughts. Some bombs just went off in Crescent City. They were over the like Meadows area where a lot of the humans live. They were bombed, a bunch of people were killed. Ithan and Queen Hypaxia went over there and were helping people, and it was just like, that really hasn't been explained. Flynn and Deck were kidnapped by Morven. He like thought Bryce's story was fishy, which I guess he's not as stupid as we thought. So he went to the Autumn King, found out that she trapped him in his closet with the shackles, and then they both came with the murder twins holding Deck and Flint and confronted the group that were in the Cave of Princes. After all that happened, they're like, hey, we're gonna kill these guys, and Bryce is like, do it, you're not going to, you care too much about their breeding potential and making sure the Fae stay really strong and blah blah blah. So she calls their bluff, uses her powers to make like a freaking laser again like she did in the old Fae world, causes like an avalanche to like trap them, and then her and everyone she's with jump in the river and go on their merry way. I did call in my brain, I don't think I said it on here, but I thought that maybe the caves and like all of the tunnels and all of that stuff that they were walking through were going to be related. I'm sorry, I live right by an airport. I'm sure you can hear that airplane. But I thought those were going to be related to the ones that she was walking through with Azrael and Nesta. So I'm like, I wonder what that was. In my head, I thought that they were the exact same ones, like somehow they were connected between the two worlds. I don't know, but I do know she said that they are like mapped out pretty much the exact same, laid out the same, and her star in the center of her chest is glowing and like pointing her which way she needs to go. So, Rune and Lydia finally made some headway. There was some spicy stuff, but not all the way, if you catch my drift. They are becoming one of my favorites. Like, they're so cute. I love her. I love Rune. I don't know if maybe, like, in the next books that we're gonna get even more of their story and like their point of view. My last note that I have on here is that Bryce's obsession with hating the Fae is starting to get super annoying, and I feel like it's super disingenuous to her character because she cares about like everyone and wants to save everyone, and she has so many people in her life close to her that she loves and would die for in a second that are Fae. So it's like, why are you holding on to this so tightly? I get it because they, you know, left the humans out basically to dry and die when all of the demons came over from hell, but it's like, that's not representative of the whole, and she's smart enough to know that, so I don't know why. That's just weird to me. And I think she had a conversation with Baxian in the caves that I think is going to change her mind. But I feel like that storyline and that element is just weird. Like, it just doesn't fit her. The part I just got to, they were in the caves and she found the staircase, the hidden staircase, and they're going down that now. So that's where we're at. I'm still really enjoying it. I like don't want it to end because it's so, so good. I'm going to try to read more tonight, and I will update you again when I have something to say. Hello, everyone. You saw the clip that I took of me reading about Hunt and finally... Did I suck my teeth? About Hunt finally figuring out, like, the whole deal with him being bred and who his dads are. Like, he literally was made for Bryce. Like, what? I was not expecting that. Yeah, that's wild to me. I read to the point where they're about to, like, they've kind of decided that they're going to open the Northern Rift to hell. They're still on Avalon, and Bryce and Rune, and mostly those two, Rune ended up killing the Autumn King, their dad. Craziness, and then Morven they also killed as well, and it's just like, there was so much that was happening. As I was reading it, I was like, am I gonna have to reread this because this is a lot? So all of that was happening. She melted the brains of the murder twins, like, holy shit, Bryce did. So you saw the clip of me absolutely freaking out about learning Hunt's kind of like backstory and like how he was bred and who his dads were and his mom, and just like, it was so much. He was literally made for Bryce. I was not expecting that. That is insane. I'm about to sneeze. It was the weakest sneeze I've ever had in my life. So the reason that they were able to get that information, they followed the caves, they ended up in, they found the secret staircase, it went down, and there was black salt everywhere. Bryce, of course, knew that and didn't tell anyone, but it's used to summon the demons from hell like Bryce did back in her apartment. She realizes that they were doing it, Helena was doing it in her brain, so she like drinks from this like cup thing that was at the bottom of the stairwell in like this little room, and there's an 8-pointed star, and that's where the little like bowl was sitting, and 2 of the points on the star were like slits and like hollowed out. So all that to say, she goes to hell, she finds out all this information, the princes of hell are like, hey, we want to help you, you got to open the Northern Rift all the way, that's the only way that we're going to be able to get our armies through, and she's like, okay, I'll think about it. Goes back. When she wakes up, her and Hunt both went. When they wake up, he is being burned by the Autumn King, as is she. They've got into the little room and yada yada. Long story short, she melts the brains of the two murder twins. She and Rune essentially tag team on killing the Autumn King, their dad, and then they also kill the Stag King, or whatever the hell his name is. She then realizes, like, hey, they told me down in hell, forgot to mention this, that Thea's powers were split, and Bryce now has two of them, one she was born with and the one she got when she was in the old Fae world. Now she needs to find the third, and she already has the Star Sword and the Truth Teller. So once all of those things are back together, reunited, then she can defeat the Asteri. She realizes she has to find this power. They don't know where it's at. It's somewhere on Avalon. She is like, okay, we gotta find it. When she wakes up, she kills everybody. She realizes that 8-pointed star I told you about with the 2 slits, they're perfect fits for the dagger and the Star Sword. So she shoves them in there. She gets all the power, and now she's like, good to go, hot to trot. And when she does that, it also, like, changes Avalon completely. Like, it turns into, like, this lush, beautiful island kind of place. In my brain, I was picturing, like, Animal Crossing islands. Welcome to my brain. Alice in Wonderland twins and Animal Crossing islands. So that's where I'm at now. She has kind of realized, like, hey, we're gonna have to open the Northern Rift to let hell through, because if not, we're not gonna be able to defeat the Asteri, because she learns that they wiped out all of the rebels, so that's, like, horrible. She learns about the bombing at the Meadows. Sure, I'm leaving out several things. I have maybe, like, I don't know, a few hundred pages to go. I'm also waiting for, I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm, like, scared it's going to. I'm waiting for Sarah J. Maas to pull the, like, shit that she does with her characters, where the main character finds a love interest, you think it's their mate, you love them, they're great, and then it's like, switches, and it's like, actually that wasn't your mate, it's this person. I love Hunt so much, so I'm like, and I love him and Bryce together, so I hope that doesn't happen. But I did have the inkling of, like, what if it's Azriel? But didn't he have something with Elaine? I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read those books, so I'm gonna have to go back. And I feel like yes. But also, like, come on, there's no way it's that cut and dry of Feyre and Rhysand are together, Nesta and Cassian are together, and, like, just happened that all 3 sisters are mating with these, like, essentially brothers. Seems fishy, and I'm looking out for Sarah J. Maas's, you know, her little things that she does. So, anywho, that is where I'm at. I will keep you guys updated as I continue to read more. Hello everyone. I have not done much filming the past couple days, but I have been reading up a storm. I have less than 100 pages left of Crescent City, and things are happening. Like, I am in the thick of the battle with the Asteri. It is high stakes, adrenaline pumping. I am just like, oh my gosh, I'm finishing it tonight. I am so excited, but so sad and so scared, because I don't want it to end on a cliffhanger and have nothing to follow it up with. So that's all I have to say right now. I feel like I'm, like, speechless because it's just so much information, and I'm, like, trying to digest it all, but also trying to savor it because I don't want it to be over. But I will come back as soon as I have finished, and we will chat all things Crescent City 3. The dust jacket is back on. That's how you know I am finished with this. Oh my god. Like, what did I just read? I took some notes. I feel like I'm still processing it though, because I just finished this late last night. I finished it while I was in bed. So I want to say this ended in the most beautiful way. It did not end on a cliffhanger like the other 2 books did in the series, and I feel like, honestly, Sarah J. Maas could just end this series here if she wanted to. There are loose strings, which I'll get to in a second, but I feel like the way it ended was just like, I'm gonna read it, because this is a spoiler vlog, but I underlined the last passage, like the last little sentence, and if I can get to it, that'd be really freaking cool. Life was out there, so Bryce and Hunt ran to live it together. That's how it ends. Oh, so sweet. I feel like that's probably an unpopular opinion, and don't get me wrong, I don't want this series to end. This is my favorite fantasy series I've ever read in my entire life, but if it did, it would make sense, and everyone's in a happy place. I feel like the next few books are going to be heart-wrenching, and like she's got to do something because no one died besides Leaba, which that happened in previous books, but no one from like their core little group that took on the Asteri died. And I feel like that's very interesting. There's something about this book where I'm waiting for the other, or not this book, this series and these characters, where I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I'm like, okay, it's too much good, they're just succeeding at everything when, like, you know, I don't know. They have their trials and things like that where it's like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But they always end up pulling it together in the end. So I'm like, Sarah J. Maas is gonna throw us a curveball in the following books because I sense it. I don't know if I'm ready for it. It's kind of like Toy Story. This is the analogy I always use, is that Toy Story 1 and 2, that's all we needed. You know, like, we didn't need to know that the toys went to another kid. We didn't need to know, like, we didn't need to know that Buzz and Woody, like, separate from each other. None of that was necessary, and all it does is make the kids who were alive and watching the Toy Stories when they first came out just sad. So 1 and 2 was good. Are 3 and 4 also good? Yes. But were they necessary? No. That's just my thoughts there. I am a Rune and Lydia stan for the rest of my life. I was looking, before I even finished this book, for merch for Crescent City. If you guys saw the raw footage, I am burping every 2 seconds. And they're not like little, you know, tiny burps. No, they're massive. Example. I was looking on Etsy and there were so many Rune things. Like, they were everywhere. And I was like, I like him, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want a specific Rune shirt. And now I'm like, no wonder. Because they are just amazing. And the bonus content in here, it's Rune and Lydia's marriage. And it is so sweet. You already knew they were mates, so like, they just got legally married. And it is just, ugh. They made me cry the most, her with her sons and then them together. At the end, when I was like down to the first 100 pages last night, I was just like so emotionally moved by their story over everyone else's. I will say though, the fact that he shot her thinking he could go take on Pollux himself was not really thought out, because he shot her in the leg, she couldn't move. They're in the middle of storming the castle. Like, I just don't think he thought that one through, because like then he just left her there when there's like all of these people from the Republic and Asteri sympathizers and demons from hell like all over the place, and he's just like, that was not thought through appropriately. And also the black hole to suck up another black hole. First of all, Bryce is a genius. She gives the mask to Hunt. I wish she would have figured things out a little quicker, but it all worked out in the end. It's just like, with all of Sarah J. Maas's books, especially the Throne of Glass series, I don't really recall too much from ACOTAR because it's been so long since I've read it, but she writes it so that the characters are always 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of the reader, and it's so interesting once things start unraveling, because you'll be reading something, and at least for me, I'm like, wait, I don't understand, so I'll keep rereading it, and then I'm like, okay, I still don't get it, so then I'm just gonna keep reading, and then it's like, oh, you weren't supposed to get it, that makes sense. The scenes with Nesta, Cassian, and Bryce's parents once she goes back and opens the rift to the old Fae world were so sweet, but I feel like there's more there. And I know that they closed the rift completely, but I don't think that's over. I think there's going to be more crossover with these two series, ACOTAR and Crescent City. I just feel like there was way too much unknown there, and you know, Bryce's mom was saying certain things to Nesta that like we had no context of, and you could tell Bryce and everyone else were kind of like, what does that mean? I'm gonna give them their moment, but also like, what the hell happened while we weren't here? And she ends up giving Nesta the star sword, and because she's like, you have the 8-pointed star just like me, there's probably a reason, go figure it out. That, makes me think there's going to be more crossover because, like, I don't know, too many similarities, and like I said, Nesta and Bryce are the dynamic duo we didn't know we needed. Now we do know we need it, so I'm hoping at least that we get more of it, but also kind of gives us a clue of what the ACOTAR series, what direction that's going in. part of me is upset about that because I was really, really hoping that we were gonna get not Nesta's point of view, but Feyre and Rhysand again. I wanted them to come back, but the fact that they mentioned in Crescent City that Rhysand is like such an overprotective dad, I needed that little kernel. Like, that was just like, I just love that. And I will say though, they mentioned several times, like every time, she only goes back twice, but the times that Bryce contacts Nesta after she stole the truth teller and like dipped out of there the first time, she mentions Rhysand and is like, he's gonna come here, he's gonna be so mad and like wipe you off the map. I feel like there's unfinished business there, so we need to revisit that as well. And you guys all had to catch it, and I'm sure I'm like so late to the game, one, reading this, and two, like talking about all these things, but there was crossover with Throne of Glass as well. Lydia names her son Brannon, which is, I'm not gonna even get into how that's related to Throne of Glass, but it is. It's very intricate, and I'll be spoiling a lot of things, and if you haven't read that series, I don't want to do that. But just know, like, I think Sarah J Maas is a literal genius. Like, how this is coming out of her brain, and she's like tying all these things together and Easter egging and making us like connect the dots. She is the Taylor Swift of fantasy authors. I'm gonna say it. Like, what? How? It is on my bucket list. I have chills right now talking about it. It's on my bucket list to sit down and talk with her. Like, if I was hosting a dinner party and I could pick anyone that I wanted to be there, she would be one of them. Like, genius. Can you even imagine a dinner party with like Sarah J Maas, Taylor Swift? Who else do we need there? I don't know. I'm gonna keep thinking about that, but that's a good start of a guest list. And I mentioned this in the previous clips, but guys, I feel like Sarah J Maas is still, she's gonna throw us a curveball with Bryson Hunt. I just have an inkling, and I saw a clip on Instagram the other day that I guess Sarah J Maas has either said or alluded to the fact that Elaine is going to get a mate, and people are like, oh, it's Azriel, and some people are thinking it's not him because she is definitely with Lucien. I don't know. I don't honestly remember. I don't think it's Elaine though, because like I said in the previous clips, there's no way that it's that easy. There's no way. I think there might be a tie between Azriel and Bryce. I really do, and I hope I'm wrong, because Hunt and Bryce are like, love them forever, but I don't know. I just feel like the fact that she emphasized several times throughout this series so far that angels don't mate the way Fae do, I'm like, I think she's foreshadowing. And she's done this in previous relationships in her entire world. That's all I'm gonna say, but she's done this before, so I'm like, I don't know. I did love all of the queen talk, like once Bryce declared herself queen, like Rune saying long live the queen, I was like, ugh, so sweet, like ripped my heart out of my chest. I just, ugh, like my eyes are watering. What is wrong with me? I do wonder where she's gonna go with this series now though, because like I said, I feel like she could end it here if she wanted to. I don't know what the next conflict is gonna be and how it's going to top, and I guess it doesn't necessarily have to, but I think the next book at least is gonna be more setting up more of the story to come, because everything Asiri-wise is essentially wrapped up in this book, and what's coming next is like demolishing the systems, which Bryce has already got the ball rolling on that and, you know, signed her things that there's no more monarchy, it's essentially a democracy now and they have to set it up. So I'm like, okay, but reading about them just setting up a government, I don't know that there's going to be much to go. You know what I mean? I know Sarah J Maas can do it and hook our attention, but it's just like, I wonder what the actual conflict will be there, like what the big thing, the big bad will be. And also, I'm like jumping around here, but like Ethan talking to Connor again, my heart, so sweet. Hypaxia said, deuces to the witches, you guys kicked me out, I'm now the head of, what do they call it? The queen, the head, I don't know, she rules the house, the ruler of the House of Flame and Shadow. Like, okay, I love that. I love Hypaxia, I think that she is just such like an underrated character, and her relationship with the governor, Celestina, I don't like Celestina. She sold out Hunt and Bryce because she was afraid of the Asiri, and it was just like gross. She ends up yielding to them, but I've got my eye on her, you know what I mean? I am going to miss Jessica so much. I'm glad that she finally found a way for her to get out of the immortal, like, tailspin that she was in, essentially. Like, she had been alive for like 15,000 years. So I'm glad that she was able to kind of go out on her own terms. She decided that, you know, she was ready, and I hope, you know, I hope she has peace. That's what I was about to say, as if she was real. Whatever. To me, she is, okay? And I think it's so full circle, too. Again, another reason why Sarah J. Maas could say, I'm done here. She gifted all of the books from the Library of Parthos to Bryce for her to reopen Griffin Antiquities, and like the scenes where she's doing that and she's setting up the gallery and the three fire sprites are sitting there watching a shitty reality TV show on Hunt's phone. Like, it was just such a sweet tribute to Leaba. And Alex, also, I don't know if that's how you say it. I've heard people say Lahaba, but whatever. So sweet. So sweet. I love that so much. And then Baxian, he's just over chilling in Avalon. I wonder if we're gonna get more of that piece in the coming books. And one thing I will say that was left on the biggest cliffhanger, which makes me think that it's gonna be a huge focus of Crescent City 4, is the fact that Therian went to go find his wife, Sathya, I think is her name, at the meat market because, you know, she was with the Viper Queen. She went to go save one of her ex-boyfriends. All we know is that he goes to the meat market and he runs into the dragon, and that was it. Like, we never got any other conclusion, so I'm like, I think that is going to be a big piece. And I like Therian. He's not one of my favorite characters. I feel like his character arc is still climbing, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that he's done his heroic thing that's gonna be like, oh, I love him so much. Like Ithan, he did that, and I was so annoyed with him in this book, but now I'm like, I love him. It was all for a reason. I'm obsessed. Another thing, just sitting here, we don't know where Sigrid went. She's a Reaper. She got the Prime's, like, soul, because Sabine killed him, that's right. Sabine killed him, and she's a Reaper, so she went over there and sucked his soul out. Then she got Sabine's, and then I don't remember what happened to the astronomer. No one gives a F about him. And then she disappeared. So, like, where is she? What is she doing? Is she gonna have a run-in with Hypaxia? Because now she's the head of the House of Flame and Shadow. I don't know. These are all just thoughts in my brain, and I am just all over the place. Those are all my thoughts. I rated this 5 stars, so this is the first series I have ever read that I've rated every single book in the series so far a 5-star. I don't know what that says other than, like, go fucking read this right now, but it's truly such a work of art. It is, all books are like 800 pages, all 3 of them, so just keep that in mind. Like, you're in for a lot of words, a lot of pages, a lot of reading, but it's so worth it. You're gonna fall in love with all of the characters and just oh my gosh, I love it so much. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!